Right now, I mean, we're in 2026, and there are just thousands of startups and, these massive corporations pouring absolute millions of dollars into artificial intelligence.
Oh, easily. Billions, really, across the board.
Right, billions. And according to this really rigorous decade-long study from researchers at the Wharton School in UT Dallas, for the vast majority of these companies, that investment is doing absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, and in fact, in a lot of cases, just blindly plugging AI into a business is actively destroying their ability to innovate.
It is a staggering disconnect. I mean, we are witnessing this era where the raw technological power of AI is, doubling every few months?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yet the actual measurable business value being extracted from it remains incredibly elusive for most organizations.
And that tension is exactly why we are here. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are really taking a scalpel to the hype.
I love that. We definitely need a scalpel for this.
For sure. Our mission today is to extract the proven architectural blueprint for turning AI into actual real-world value. And that's whether you're a, venture-backed tech giant or just a solo entrepreneur working from your living room.
Which is more relevant now than ever.
Exactly. And we have an incredible stack of sources guiding us today. First, there's that Wharton and UT Dallas academic paper, which tracked, I think it was 1,800 Chinese startups over a 10-year period from 2011 to 2020, just to see who survived and who failed with AI.
And we're pairing that longitudinal data with a highly practical 2026 guide from Emergent. It focuses on how everyday individuals are monetizing AI today without needing to write, a single line of code.
Which is huge. And to anchor all of this right now, in the present moment, we're bringing in a new market clarity report that details 23 hyper-profitable micro-niches happening as we speak.
It's a really solid lineup.
It is. So, to start, we really have to look at the root cause of this massive corporate failure rate. The Wharton study points out that simply buying an AI capability, subscribing to an enterprise model or building your own proprietary one, it's just not enough.
No, it's really not. The technology cannot exist in a vacuum. It requires a very specific operational framework to actually function.
Right.
What's fascinating here is we need to look at what AI fundamentally is at its core. I mean, AI is an incredibly sophisticated prediction machine, but it is ultimately a black box.
A total black box.
Yeah. It relies entirely on massive volumes of historical data to identify patterns and guess what is going to happen next. But here is the paradox, right? True product innovation, by its very definition, means creating something that does not currently exist.
Which means there's no historical data. It has no historical data for the AI to analyze.
Precisely. If you are inventing a completely new category, your AI is starving.
Wow, starving. That's a good way to put it.
It is this massive high-capacity processing plant, but you have no raw material to feed into it. And this is exactly where the researchers discovered the missing link.
Okay.
The startups that actually succeeded were the ones that paired their AI with the lean startup method, or LSM.
Okay, let's unpack this because I find it really helpful to think of the AI as that massive, multi-million-dollar industrial car engine. Right? It's incredibly powerful, but without a steering wheel and a transmission to direct that power, you just burn out your tires.
Exactly. You go nowhere fast.
Right. So in this case, the steering wheel is the lean startup method. When you build a minimum viable product, an MVP, you aren't building the final polished product.
No, you're building a prototype.
Exactly. You put a rough prototype out into the real world to get unfiltered, messy human feedback. And that human interaction generates firsthand proprietary data. The lean startup method mines the raw ore of customer behavior and then feeds it directly into the AI.
You create this loop. Human experimentation feeds the machine, and the machine processes that data to guide the very next human experiment.
It's a perfect synergy.
It is, but the Wharton study goes much deeper than just broadly suggesting we combine these two ideas.
Right, there's nuance to it.
A lot of nuance. The most crucial finding in the paper is that AI and lean startup are not monolithic concepts. They each have two very distinct, highly specialized functions.
Okay, so there are types.
Yes, and the actual secret to avoiding bankruptcy is matching the correct type of AI with the correct type of lean startup practice.
Well, let's break down the AI side first. The researchers divide AI into two distinct categories, right? First, you have discovery-oriented AI.
Think of this as your satellite imaging system.
Exactly. It scans vast, unstructured data sets like millions of social media posts or global consumer trends to uncover hidden patterns and figure out where a completely new market might be hiding. It points to a new vein of gold.
And then on the flip side, you have optimization-oriented AI. This is not looking for anything new. This is your industrial centrifuge.
Okay, so it's refining.
Right. It takes an existing known process and refines it, extracting higher yields, automating workflows, making an established system infinitely more efficient.
So then on the other side of the equation, we have the two matching practices of the lean startup method. First is prototyping, which is the act of building an MVP to validate a brand new, untested idea.
Yes, starting from scratch.
Right. And the second is controlled experimentation. This is the realm of A/B testing, like taking a product that already has a user base and rigorously tweaking variables to see which version performs marginally better.
And the magic, the real measurable innovation, only happens when you align the right tool with the right methodology.
So how do they pair up?
The study reveals that discovery-oriented AI pairs perfectly with prototyping to create what they categorize as first-release products.
First release, okay, so completely new invention.
Exactly.
The paper actually highlights the incredible story of Genki Forest, a Chinese startup that perfectly illustrates this dynamic. Originally, they were just making standard tea beverages in a highly saturated market.
A very tough market to break into.
Super tough. So they deployed discovery-oriented AI to analyze massive Chinese social media and microblogging platforms. The AI wasn't tasked with making a better tea. It was tasked with finding semantic clusters of consumer desires.
And it uncovered this massive latent anxiety among young consumers regarding sugar consumption and obesity, paired with a desire for bold flavors.
Right, like a contradiction almost.
Yeah. The AI mapped the terrain and pointed to a void in the market where guilt-free and flavorful did not currently overlap.
But the AI didn't formulate the drink. It just provided the satellite map. Genki Forest then relied on the human element, the prototyping.
They rapidly formulated an MVP.
Exactly, using erythritol, which is a sugar substitute that didn't have a chemical aftertaste.
Yeah.
They put a basic version of this zero-sugar sparkling water onto shelves in a few test markets, gathered the real-world purchase data, validated the AI's hypothesis, and then entirely pivoted the company.
It's brilliant.
They became a multi-billion-dollar beverage empire, literally because they matched discovery with prototyping.
And we see the exact same architecture in companies like Stitch Fix.
Oh, the clothing boss company.
Yeah. They use Discovery AI to process millions of disparate data points, customer style profiles, Pinterest boards, even weather patterns to forecast apparel trends months before season begins.
Wow, weather patterns too. That's wild.
Right. But they don't just blindly manufacture a million sweaters based on a computer's guess. They prototype those designs, send small batches to select customers, and use that human feedback to validate the Discovery AI before scaling up production.
Okay, so that covers the invention of something new. Let's look at the other alignment. Optimization-oriented AI pairs perfectly with controlled experimentation to create iterative release products.
Yes.
So this isn't about finding a new market, it's about utterly dominating the one you already occupy.
And the classic case study here is Airbnb. When they were launching Airbnb Plus, their premium tier, they needed to categorize millions of room images to ensure they met strict quality standards.
Which you can't do manually.
Doing that manually was impossible. So they deployed optimization AI to automate the visual classification.
But wait, I imagine training an AI to understand the, aesthetic quality of a living room across millions of varying photos is incredibly computationally expensive.
Oh, it is. The AI was drowning in irrelevant pixels.
I bet.
So Airbnb utilized controlled experimentation, rigorous A/B testing on their live website. They tested different image layouts and features to see what specific visual elements actually caused a human being to click book.
Oh, so did the customer care more about the brightness of the window or the pattern on the rug?
Exactly. And once the human A/B testing identified the exact variables that drove conversion, they fed that specific criteria back into the optimization AI.
That's so smart.
They essentially told the machine, ignore 90% of the image, only process these specific features. It drastically reduced the computing load and streamlined the entire system.
Okay, I want to pause here and look at the friction in this model.
Yeah.
Because, this framework sounds incredibly elegant when we talk about the successes.
Yeah.
But what happens when a CEO gets impatient? What if an executive board buys a massive discovery AI platform, but decides to use it to just fine-tune their existing supply chain? Or worse, what if they use optimization AI to try and invent a totally new physical product?
Well, that is the structural failure point the researchers identified. The Wharton findings are highly explicit on this.
What do they say?
If an organization cross-matches these tools, applying AI where its architecture isn't designed to go, the innovation results are statistically insignificant.
Statistically insignificant.
And crucially, for companies dealing in physical products, cross-matching actively yields negative results.
Wait, really? I need to understand the mechanism behind that.
Yeah.
Why does cross-matching actively harm a company, and why are physical products the most vulnerable?
It comes down to capital expenditure and the length of the feedback loop. I mean, software is malleable, right? You can write a bad line of code on Friday and patch it on Monday.
Right, it's just pixels.
Exactly. But physical manufacturing requires supply chains, factory tooling, physical molds.
Well,
If you use optimization AI, which only knows how to look backward at past data to try and invent a new market, it will just tell you to build a slightly more efficient version of a product that is already declining in popularity.
because it is totally blind to anything outside its historical data set.
Exactly. So you spend $5 million retooling a factory in Shenzhen based on the AI's output, only to realize 6 months later that consumer tastes have completely shifted.
Wow.
You optimized the wrong variable, you burned your runway, and you destroyed your ability to pivot. It really proves that acquiring AI is not a strategy. Managing the boundaries of what your AI is permitted to do is the actual strategy.
That is so profound. So we've explored how massive capitalized startups navigate this landscape to avoid driving off a cliff. But let's bring this down to earth for a second.
Let's do it.
Because if you're sitting in your home office in 2026 and you don't have Airbnb's engineering team or Genki Forest's venture capital, how does this framework actually translate to a solo creator?
The translation is surprisingly seamless because the underlying philosophy remains identical.
Okay.
The Emergent Guide provides the context for the solo operator today. We're looking at a landscape where, according to Wedbush analysts, global AI spending is surpassing $2 trillion.
$2 trillion, that's with a T.
Yes. AI is no longer a fringe experiment. It is foundational infrastructure, accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
But because the barrier to entry is essentially zero, the barrier is also zero for your competition.
Very true.
The guide makes a vital distinction between active and semi-passive income models for solo operators. Active income is using AI to drastically accelerate your existing freelance work. Like, you're still trading time for money, but you're doing the work of 5 people.
Right, scaling yourself.
Exactly. Then semi-passive income involves building micro SaaS applications or digital assets where the AI helps you construct a product that generates revenue autonomously.
Yet, regardless of which path you choose, the solo operator must accept a hard truth about generative AI. It is a phenomenal tool for speed, scale, and pattern recognition, but it possesses absolutely zero originality, and it completely lacks nuanced human judgment.
It really does.
It hallucinates facts, it misses cultural subtext, and it cannot read a room.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I think a great way to visualize generative AI is to view it as a virtuosic session musician.
I like that.
It's a keyboard that holds every sound ever recorded, and it can play 1,000 notes a second without breaking a sweat. But it has no soul.
Yeah.
It cannot write a hit song on its own.
Exactly.
You are the record producer.
Yeah.
You have to bring the taste, the editorial restraint, the strategic vision. If you just hit generate and hand that raw output to a client, they will immediately recognize it as hollow, and you will lose their business.
Which brings us right back to the Wharton study, honestly.
Totally.
The AI generates the raw output at scale, but the human must provide the lean startup validation, the prototyping, the testing, the editorial taste.
Right.
To make this actionable, the Emergent Guide details a highly specific 30-day roadmap for individuals. And their primary warning is focus. Do not try to build an AI marketing agency, a YouTube channel, and a software tool all in the same week.
Which is so tempting to do. But they outline a 3-step exercise that I think is brilliant in its simplicity. Step 1. Document your existing real-world skills. Step 2. List the actual painful problems people already pay you to solve.
That's the key right there.
It is. And step 3. Brainstorm how applying an AI layer can multiply your speed in solving those exact problems.
Yeah.
You do not start from zero, and you do not try to learn a completely new industry. You layer AI onto your existing domain expertise.
Let's walk through a tangible example of how this prototyping works for a non-coder. Imagine a freelance bookkeeper. Their skill is accounting, their client's painful problem is constantly losing physical receipts and causing tax nightmares.
Right, the classic shoebox full of crumpled paper in the passenger seat.
Exactly. The bookkeeper shouldn't try to use AI to become a graphic designer. Instead, they follow the roadmap. They use an off-the-shelf, no-code tool to connect a WhatsApp number to an AI vision model.
Okay.
Now, a plumber can just take a photo of a dirty receipt on the dashboard of their truck, text it to that number, and the AI automatically extracts the vendor, the amount, and the tax category, dropping it straight into the bookkeeper's spreadsheet.
That is so elegant. And the crucial part of the lean startup methodology here is how you test it. You don't spend 6 months trying to build a polished, branded app. You built a minimal viable offer.
Right, keep it simple.
You literally just text 3 of your existing plumbing clients and say, hey, text me photos of your receipts moving forward. Behind the scenes, you manually run those photos through the AI. If those 3 clients find it so convenient that they're willing to pay an extra $50 a month for the service,
Then you validated the market. Boom.
you generated real-world data to prove the prototype works, and then you invest time in fully automating it.
You are matching discovery, finding a new way to solve an old problem with rigorous human prototyping.
Okay, so we have the scientific framework and we have the personal 30-day execution plan. The natural next question is, where exactly is the market actively begging for these solutions right now?
That's the golden question.
It is. We have a market clarity report that acts almost like a heat map for 2026. It breaks down 23 exploding micro niches. And I want to dive deeply into how a few of these actually function under the hood.
The first niche the report highlights is AI agent orchestration, which is projected to surge from a $5.8 billion market to $48.7 billion by 2034.
Let's explain what that actually means, because we aren't just talking about a single chatbot anymore, right?
No, not at all. We have moved far beyond the single prompt and response dynamic. AI agents are autonomous programs that can execute multi-step workflows.
Okay.
Orchestration platforms act as the digital managers for a workforce of these agents.
A workforce of agents.
Exactly. Imagine a scenario where a researcher agent scours the internet for competitor pricing, formats that data, and hands it off to an analyst agent.
Wow.
Then the analyst agent identifies vulnerabilities in the competitor's pricing model and hands that insight to a copywriter agent, which drafts a targeted email campaign. Orchestration is the software that coordinates that complex handoff without a human needing to intervene at every step.
That is incredible.
Nah.
And to make those agents actually functional, the report highlights a second massive niche, which is AI memory systems, with tools like Mene leading the charge.
This is a huge development.
The data here is fascinating. These systems are improving AI accuracy by 26%, while simultaneously lowering token usage by 90%. Can you break down the architectural shift that allows for a 90% drop in computing costs?
To understand the value here, we have to look at how large language models process information. Every word or piece of a word you send to an AI is a token, and you pay for computing power based on how many tokens the machine has to process. Historically, if you wanted an AI to remember a long, complex project, you had to continually refeed it the entire history of the conversation every single time you asked a new question.
Which gets so expensive.
Incredibly inefficient and expensive.
It's like having an assistant with severe amnesia. Every morning, you have to spend an hour re-explaining who they are and what the company does before they can send a single email.
Precisely. What memory systems like Memzilla do is extract the relevant facts from a conversation and store them externally in a highly organized vector database.
Okay.
So the next time you ask a question, the AI doesn't need to read 1,000 pages of past transcripts. The memory system instantly retrieves only the one specific paragraph of context needed to answer the question and injects it into the prompt.
That is brilliant.
You are sending a fraction of the data to the AI, which is why the token usage and the computing cost plummets by 90%, while the accuracy actually goes up.
That is a massive operational advantage for anyone building software. But looking at the rest of this report, a larger theme is emerging for me.
What's that?
With enterprises currently facing severe regulatory pressure, like the European Union's Digital Services Act and strict GDPR enforcement, I have a theory. Is a real opportunity for developers right now not in making AI smarter, but actually in making it safer?
The data overwhelmingly supports your theory. Let's look at the micro niche. The report labels LLM privacy protection tools.
Okay.
Large enterprises are absolutely terrified of their employees inadvertently leaking sensitive data.
Oh, I'm sure.
If an HR representative drops a spreadsheet into a public AI model to summarize employee feedback, but that document contains social security numbers or medical data, the company is instantly in violation of federal and international law.
A single mistake could result in a multi-million-dollar fine.
Yes. So the market has responded by building privacy gateways. These are software layers that sit between the employee and the AI.
Like a firewall.
Exactly. When an employee pastes a document into the prompt, the gateway instantly scans it, identifies personally identifiable information like names, addresses, or financials, and automatically redacts or anonymizes it before the prompt ever reaches the AI model.
Wow.
The AI processes the safe data, sends the summary back to the gateway, and the gateway replaces the anonymized tags with the real information before showing it to the employee.
It's an invisible security filter. And the report notes that companies are paying anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000 annually just for these privacy gateways.
Because paying $500,000 is drastically cheaper than a $10 million regulatory fine.
For sure.
If we synthesize this into a broader takeaway for the listener, the most lucrative opportunities are rarely about inventing a flashy consumer-facing chatbot. The real revenue is found in solving boring, painful, highly regulated business problems.
It's the digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
Another great example from the creator economy side of the report is TikTok Shop Analytics. TikTok Shop is projected to hit $17.5 billion in U.S. sales.
Huge market.
Building a microsauce, which is just a hyper-focused software tool that solves one specific problem for a monthly subscription that helps these sellers track their supply chain inventory or analyze competitor pricing, is incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
Or the market for faceless YouTube automation, where creators use AI voice generation and script writing to build niche educational channels that pull in $3,000 to $10,000 a month. In every single one of these niches, the technology is just the vehicle. The destination is always solving a highly specific human problem.
So if we step back and look at the entire landscape we have covered today, what is the ultimate conclusion?
Well, the conclusion is that the underlying mechanics of innovation have not changed, even as the technology has become unrecognizable.
Right.
We started by looking at why corporate giants fail with AI, and we discovered that whether you are a heavily funded Chinese tech startup pivoting into zero-sugar beverages, or a solo bookkeeper building an automated receipt tracker for local plumbers, the architectural formula for success is identical.
It demands the deliberate integration of machine capability with human methodology.
Exactly. The artificial intelligence provides unprecedented speed, massive pattern recognition, and limitless scale. But it is the human-driven lean startup method, the messy prototyping, the rigorous A/B testing, the market validation, and the editorial taste that provides the actual direction.
You cannot just turn on the high-capacity processing plant without sending human beings into the mine to extract the raw ore of customer feedback.
Which means for you, the listener, navigating 2026 does not require you to learn Python or become a machine learning engineer. It requires you to intimately understand real-world problems and relentlessly test minimum viable solutions utilizing AI as your hyper-fast, virtuosic session musician.
You know, synthesizing all of this data from the Wharton study and the Market Clarity Report, I think there is a massive paradigm shift looming on the horizon that we are entirely missing.
Really? What's a blind spot?
We discuss how AI agent orchestration is evolving into a nearly $50 billion market, and how AI memory systems are granting these digital agents perfect recall and autonomous decision-making capabilities.
Right.
The entire lean startup method relies absolutely on getting your minimum viable product in front of a human customer to gather messy, emotional market feedback.
Right. You were A/B testing for human psychology.
But if we are entering an era where AI agents are the ones managing a human being's schedule, optimizing their household budget, and actively making purchasing decisions on their behalf, what happens to the lean startup method when your target customer, the entity giving you market feedback on your prototype, is actually another AI?
Wow. If my digital agent is the one deciding which software subscription I keep and which groceries get ordered, then startups won't be prototyping to win over human emotion anymore. They will be A/B testing to appease a hyper-rational algorithm.
It would completely redefine the build, measure, learn feedback loop that innovation is built upon.
That is a fundamental rewiring of commerce. It just reinforces that while the technological landscape is shifting at breakneck speed, our need for rigorous, structured thinking isn't going anywhere.
More important than ever.
We are finally moving past the illusion of plug-and-play AI. The path forward requires curiosity, deliberate experimentation, and a willingness to get your hands dirty in the real world. Keep questioning your assumptions, keep building those prototypes, and keep directing the machine. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.